Welcome to the deep dive. And today we're doing something a little different.
Different.
Different good, though.
Okay.
Think of it as like, mindful moments.
Mindful moments.
Yeah, mindful moments nourish your mind on the go.
Okay, I like
We're
it.
using AI narration to bring you a deep dive into Cormac McCarthy's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Road.
Wow. Okay, so we're getting up, huh?
We are. So imagine a world like totally stripped bare, just ashes and shadows.
Bleak.
Yeah, bleak. But this is the setting of The Road, a story where a father and a son journey across a totally desolate America.
So like post-apocalyptic.
Definitely post-apocalyptic, but they're clinging to the embers of hope.
Hope. That's interesting considering the setting.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to explore, the profound questions this book asks about love, survival, and what it even means to be human, all without giving away the ending.
So no spoilers.
No spoilers.
All right, I'm in.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The novel follows this father and son, right?
Okay.
And they're going across an ash-covered America. And what's remarkable is just how vivid the descriptions are.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, we're talking blackened trees, the slow combers rolling dull and leaden, and the cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth.
It's like heavy, right? Like you can almost feel the weight of the world just in those descriptions.
Exactly. It's more than just a backdrop, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. The landscape that McCarthy creates, it's like a mirror.
A mirror.
Yeah, like reflecting the character's internal states,
That's fascinating.
The ash-covered trees, the gray skies, everything you just mentioned, like that cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. It all mirrors the emotional numbness and despair that weighs on them.
It's like he's using the landscape to embody their emotional state.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly evident in his recurring use of ash imagery, symbolizing not just the physical destruction, but the extinguishing of hope and joy.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful image.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So one detail that really stuck with me.
Okay.
It was this image of the mummy dead everywhere, the flesh like old leather.
Oh, yeah. That one, it's disturbing.
Disturbing, yes, but also so vivid, right? It sets the tone for the whole novel, like from the very beginning.
It's like he's forcing us to confront this harsh reality, right away.
Yeah, you're thrown right into it.
And that pervasiveness of death, it's inescapable.
Right. It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
So how do you think the characters are dealing with it? I mean, the father and the son.
Well, the father, he's haunted by these memories of the world before, while the son, he was born into this desolation, so he clings to this, kind of like a naive hope,
So they're both dealing with it in very different ways.
Very different, but their survival, it hinges on their ability to navigate this brutal landscape, both physically and emotionally.
And then there's the constant threat. Yeah, the threat of, the bad guy.
Oh, right. Right.
The father drills into his son, like constantly. My job is to take care of you. I was appointed to do that by God. I will kill anyone who touches you.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, heavy stuff, right? I mean, this fierce protectiveness. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also raises some questions.
Questions about?
Well, about the lengths we'd go to protect those we love.
Right. Like, would we be willing to compromise our own morals? Where do we draw the line? That's a tough one.
It is. And the father's actions, they really blur those lines, don't they?
They do. They force us to consider these ethical dilemmas, like this world stripped of its former rules.
Right.
His love for his son becomes a justification for violence, a means of survival. It's a question that haunts the entire novel.
Which is?
Can one remain good in a world that seems to demand the abandonment of traditional morality?
It's a question with no easy answers.
Definitely not.
And speaking of morality,
yeah,
their encounter with the old man, Ely.
Oh, Ely. Yeah.
It really throws a wrench into things.
How so?
Well, Ely states very plainly, there is no God, and we are his prophets.
Wow, that's a pretty stark statement.
It is. It's a challenge to the father's belief in a higher power, especially in a world where that belief seems to offer very little comfort.
It's like a complete undermining of everything he's holding on to.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder, what does it even mean to be good in a world like this?
Yeah, what does it mean to have faith when everything around you is telling you there's nothing left to believe in?
Right, and Ely embodies a different kind of survival, doesn't he?
He does. It's one based on accepting the bleakness of their reality.
Letting go of illusions.
Letting go, exactly. And he challenges the father's desperate hope, forcing us to ask, Is holding on to hope in such dire circumstances a form of delusion, or is it the only thing keeping them going?
It's a powerful question.
Absolutely.
And then it gets even more complicated.
More complicated.
Yeah, because they stumble upon a group.
A group of
cannibals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a horrific discovery.
It is.
And it raises even more questions about the limits of human compassion.
Like, can empathy survive in a world where survival often means turning a blind eye to the suffering of others?
Right. It's like, how do you even begin to reconcile those two things?
It's almost impossible to imagine.
It is. And this scene with the cannibals, it's a microcosm of this larger moral breakdown.
The microcosm.
Yeah, like this small example representing something much bigger.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It represents the darkest depths of human depravity, the lengths to which people will go when driven by desperation and hunger.
So you're saying it challenges the very notion of inherent goodness.
Absolutely. Like, does it even exist in a world like this?
It makes you question everything.
It really does.
So we have this contrast then.
Contrast.
Between hope and despair, good and evil.
And that's at the heart of the road, isn't it?
It is. It's a story that doesn't shy away from the ugliness.
The ugliness
of human behavior, but it also shows us the enduring power of love and compassion.
So even in the face of unimaginable suffering,
there are moments of grace, of humanity shining through.
Yeah, and McCarthy's style, it really amplifies these themes, doesn't it?
It does. He uses like sparse punctuation and fragmented sentences to create this sense of urgency and immediacy, you know.
Like you're right there with them.
Exactly. And his language, it's both poetic and brutal.
Poetic and brutal.
Yeah, mirroring the stark realities of the world he depicts.
There's this one example that really stands out to me.
Okay, which one?
It's when the father reflects on the fragility of everything.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
He thinks, the frailty of everything revealed at last. Old and troubling issues resolved into nothingness and night. The last instance of a thing takes the class with it. Turns out the light cut him around and is gone. Look around you. Ever is a long time.
It's a haunting passage.
It is. It's like he's mourning not just the loss of the world, but the loss of meaning itself.
Yeah, and I think his words, they really capture the essence of nihilism that kind of permeates the whole novel.
Nihilism.
This idea that, life is meaningless, there's no purpose.
Right.
The father grapples with the meaninglessness of their struggle. The seemingly inevitable demise of everything they hold dear.
So how does he even keep going?
Well, he finds solace in his love for his son, making the act of caring for another human being his sole purpose.
So in a world devoid of meaning,
love becomes the only thing that matters.
Their journey, it's a testament to the power of that bond.
It is. They face constant hunger, cold, the threat of violence. It's relentless.
And McCarthy doesn't shy away from the details, does he?
No. He describes the physical toll their ordeal takes on them. It's really hard-hitting.
Like you can feel their pain.
Exactly. And the father's declining health.
Oh, yeah, that becomes like a recurring motif, doesn't it?
It does. His coughing fits, they grow more frequent and more violent.
Symbolizing
not only his physical deterioration, but the slow erosion of hope.
It's like their journey is a metaphor.
A metaphor.
For their emotional and spiritual journey. They're traversing not just a ravaged landscape, but the depths of human suffering.
It's a journey into the heart of darkness.
Exactly.
But then there's this moment.
A moment of
respite, you could say.
Okay, tell me more.
They discovered this abandoned bunker.
Abandoned bunker.
Uh-huh. And it's filled with supplies.
Supplies? Like what kind of supplies?
Food, blankets, tools, like a glimpse of the abundance that once existed.
It's like finding a treasure trove.
It is. It's a moment of pure relief. But even then, the boy, he expresses concern.
Concern for?
For a stranger they had encountered earlier.
Stranger?
Yeah, remember they met this little boy on the road?
Oh, right.
And the boy insists, he says, we should go back for the little boy.
Wow. So even in this moment of finding everything they need,
he's still thinking of others.
That's incredible.
It is. It highlights his innate compassion, his belief in the inherent good of others, even in the face of scarcity and danger.
It's like a stark contrast to his father's worldview.
It is. It's like the boy represents this untainted innocence while the father is hardened by experience.
Right. And this tension between them.
Tension.
Yeah, between the father's pragmatism and the son's inherent goodness.
It's going to come to a head, isn't it?
Oh, it definitely will.
And I think it's going to force us to confront some really uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
About what it means to survive, to be human.
Exactly. And it comes to a head when they encounter the road rat, doesn't it?
Yeah. That scene is, it's intense.
The father driven by fear, he shoots the man.
Shoots him.
Yeah, the man who's threatening his son.
Wow.
But the boy, he witnesses this act of violence, right?
Right.
But he still pleads for the man's life.
So even after seeing his father kill someone.
Yeah, it's like he can't comprehend that level of brutality.
It's a powerful moment, isn't it?
It is. It really highlights the conflict between survival and morality.
Like, how far are you willing to go to protect your own?
Right. And the boy, despite everything he's seen, he retains the sense of compassion.
It's almost like he's challenging his father's worldview.
Yeah, he is. He's saying there's another way, even in this brutal world.
So the boy becomes this kind of moral compass then.
You could say that, yeah. And their encounter with Ely, it further complicates things,
How so?
Well, the boy, even though he's starving.
Starving?
Yeah, he offers the old man food.
That's incredible, given the circumstances.
It is. It speaks volumes about his character, And Ely, he poses this question to the father.
What does he ask?
When you die, it's the same as if everybody else did too. I guess God would know it. Is that it?
That's a heavy question.
It is. And the father, he simply replies, there is no God.
So he's embracing that nihilism, like you were saying earlier.
He is. But Ely counters there is no God, and we are his prophets.
Whoa, that's a mind bender right there.
It is, isn't it?
Like, even if there's no God, we still have a responsibility. To each other, to be kind, to carry the fire, like the father says later on.
Yeah, and this exchange between Ely and the father, it's a clash of philosophies, isn't it?
It is. It's like Ely's saying that even without a traditional concept of God,
there's still meaning to be found.
Exactly. Like, we have the capacity for meaning making.
We are responsible for carrying the fire of humanity, but what does that even mean? In this world, stripped of its former values.
It's a question the novel keeps asking.
Over and over again.
And it doesn't offer any easy answers, does it?
No, not at all. It presents us with these moral dilemmas and forces us to think about the choices we might make.
Under these extreme circumstances.
Like, what would you do?
Yeah, it's a lot to consider.
Take their arrival at the coast, for example.
The coast.
Yeah, they finally reach it, this destination they've been heading for.
And?
Well, it's both promising and dreadful, The ocean.
What about it?
It's vast, gray, awe-inspiring, but also deeply disheartening.
It's like the end of the road, literally.
It is. It's the end of the road, but not the end of their journey.
That's interesting. Like, the journey continues, even though they've reached their destination.
Right. And the ocean, the symbol of the unknown, it becomes a representation of both possibility and despair.
Like, what's out there? Is there anything left?
Exactly. And then they find this abandoned sailboat.
Abandoned sailboat.
Uh-huh.
Just sitting there.
Wow. That's got to be a sign, right?
It seems like it's a chance to escape the road, to find a new life.
A fresh start.
A fresh start. And the father even finds new clothes. Yeah, like shedding the tattered remnants of their past. It's symbolic.
It is. It's like a rebirth.
But
of course,
this moment of respite, it's short-lived.
Oh, no.
They're robbed. Their supply is stolen. Everything.
Everything.
Pretty much. And the father...
What does he do?
He's consumed by anger, by desperation.
Yeah, I bet.
He tracks down the thief. He's ready to kill.
To kill. Wow.
But the boy, he pleads with his father, To
show mercy.
To show mercy. And ultimately, the father relents. He spares the thief.
But this act of mercy, it has unforeseen consequences.
Oh, no. What happens?
They're followed and eventually confronted by their pursuers.
The people they robbed.
Yeah, the ones who took everything from them.
This is getting intense.
It is. And the father, he's torn, between protecting his son and clinging to some semblance of morality.
But what's the right thing to do in this situation?
There might not be a right answer, and the boy's compassion, it's a constant reminder of the human cost of their actions.
It's like he's the voice of reason, even though he's just a kid.
He is, and their journey, it continues onward, each step, a battle against exhaustion, hunger, the cold.
It's relentless.
And the father's health, it deteriorates even further, his coughing, it's constant now.
A reminder of their fragility.
Exactly. It's like a physical manifestation of the despair that's closing in on them.
So even though they're moving forward,
they're also falling apart.
But then there's another discovery, right?
Yeah, there is a hidden cache of food.
Wow, another miracle.
A testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but their joy, it's fleeting because the father, he realizes something.
What's that?
He's sick, gravely ill.
Oh, no.
Possibly dying. It's a cruel twist of fate.
It is, like just when they find a reason to hope.
Despair rears its ugly head.
So what now? What happens to the boy?
Well, the father, facing his own mortality, he has to confront the inevitable separation from his son, and his focus shifts, from protecting the boy to preparing him to be alone.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, but it's also a powerful testament to a father's love.
It's a heavy burden, isn't it? Like preparing your child for a world where you won't be there to protect them.
It is. It's the ultimate act of sacrifice. And this is where the novel, it takes on this almost unbearable weight.
I can imagine.
The father, knowing his time is running out.
Yeah.
He tries to instill in his son this belief that there's still good in the world,
But how? I mean, how do you convince someone of that when everything around them is telling them the opposite?
He tells him to carry the fire.
Carry the fire. What does that even mean?
It's a metaphor, It represents the spark of hope, the belief in humanity's inherent goodness.
Even in the midst of all this despair.
Exactly. The father, he can't guarantee his son's safety, but he can arm him with something else.
What's that?
A moral compass, a belief system that might help him navigate this world.
So it's like a legacy.
It is a legacy of hope.
And the boy, does he carry the fire?
He does, after the father's death.
It's hard to even think about.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
But the boy, he's alone now, vulnerable.
He is, but he chooses to honor his father's memory.
Why?
By continuing the journey, by carrying the fire.
Wow, so even in the face of unimaginable grief and fear,
love endures.
It's powerful stuff.
It is, and the final scenes of the road, they're both heart-wrenching and hopeful.
How so?
Well, McCarthy leaves the ending open to interpretation.
Okay.
But there's this glimmer of possibility in the boy's encounter with another family.
Another family.
It suggests that even in this ravaged world,
connection is still possible.
Connection, compassion, they can endure.
It's a message we all need to hear, I think, especially these days.
I agree. And The Road, it's not an easy read. It's brutal, unflinching, but it's also profoundly moving. It's an exploration of love, sacrifice, and the enduring power of hope.
So it's more than just a post-apocalyptic story.
Oh, much more. It's about what makes us human, what we're willing to endure, and what we choose to believe in.
And it challenges us, doesn't it?
It does. It challenges us to confront the darkness within ourselves and to consider what truly matters.
In a world stripped bare.
Exactly. And it doesn't offer any easy answers, but it forces us to ask these difficult questions.
About good and evil. Survival, responsibility.
It's a story that stays with you, long after you finish the last page.
I can believe that.
So if you're looking for a book that will challenge you, move you, and make you think, we highly recommend The Road.
You can find a link to purchase the book in the show notes. And if you found this deep dive into The Road insightful,
we encourage you to subscribe to our channel and share it with a friend. Maybe it'll spark a conversation.
A moment of reflection.
Or even inspire someone to pick up this powerful novel.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that fire burning.